everybody, Chris Stokes from Custom Fitness Personal Training Studio, and we're talking today about how to get a great ab workout with some bands, really utilizing the elastic properties of them to activate the core and make sure that all muscles are working, but especially those abdominal muscles. So just a reminder, the core by definition is actually your torso without your arms or your legs. So it goes front, back, sides, all of that. I mean, that's chest, that's upper back, that's mid back, that's low back, that's abs, it's all of it. So we're going to be working the abdominals, but in order to stabilize ourselves with bands, we're actually going to be working the full core. So a lot of people get upset because they think core just means abdominals, and that's what they really want to focus on is those abs. Well, bands are a great way to do that. So a lot of times when you're doing your crunches or your planks, you may not be activating exactly the way that you should. And so that's where that upset comes in, is that people think, well, man, I've been doing all this hard core work and I can't get my stomach to look the way that I want it to. Well, the problem is that possibly you're working the wrong core muscles for what you're thinking that you should be working. And secondly, you may not be engaging correctly. So the bands are going to help to fix both of those issues because we're going to be working all of the core muscles, including the abdominals, and we're also going to be engaging the muscles properly because we have to resist the elastic properties of the band. So I've got a couple of bands set up here. I know it's kind of a mess back here, sorry. But we got one band hooked into the top anchor here, or the top hinge of the door. So I am actually using a door anchor here. There's bars that you can place on the wall. There's all sorts of things, but this is the easiest way to do it from home. And honestly, this is how a lot of times I get my workouts in at home, is using my doors. And so we want to make sure that it's obviously a door nobody's going to be walking into, or that it's got a lock. So that way then nobody walks in and causes you to fall down with those bands. So we're going to make sure that we've got one up here. I've also got one loop down here. You can just as easily loop all of them on one and then just move it down. Just for ease of the video, it's going to go ahead and split it up so that way that we don't just take time switching bands. So I've got 5 great exercises for you today, and we're going to remember that during those exercises, form is key. So it doesn't matter if you can get in 200 repetitions of bad form. We want the most repetitions you can get in with great form. So if you start to lose form, start to feel the muscles fatigue too much, you get to that max out on everything, then you want to go ahead and stop and rest. It's not worth it to continue going through bad form whenever the muscles are not activating properly during that time. So in order to get them to activate properly, we've got to have great form. All right, so to start us off, we're going to grab our top band here and we're going to go to our straight leg roll down. So to do that, we're going to have our feet about hip width apart. We're going to stand close enough to the door to where we've got a tension, but not too much tension on the band, if that makes sense. These bands are a specific type that are meant to be stretched about 5 to 6 feet is all. And so if we go much further than that, then we end up overstretching them, and that leads to them tearing. If you're using bands, you always want to check them, go through and pull all the way down. Make sure you don't see any dry cracked areas or any little tears. Even a small tear could lead to something just popping open, so you want to make sure and replace those bands. Typically about once a year is a good time to think about replacing. You may not need to at that point, but definitely be checking them each time that you work out. Make sure, but usually they'll last about a year with heavy use, sometimes even longer. My home set may have, it's probably on year 2.5 at this point, so you know, still going strong with those, but it just depends on what kind of conditions they're in, how dry the environment is, how often you're using them, how far you're stretching them. There's a lot to it, so just make sure and check those bands for me. Now, one more thing real quick is that each color band does have a different resistance, but know that each brand of elastic bands does not use the same color scheme. So just because you have a red band that you got from Walmart does not mean that that red band is the same resistance as one that, say, we have here. So we want to make sure that we know what resistance we're using and that we're using an appropriate resistance for your body. Okay, so back to that straight leg roll down. We're going to have our feet hip width apart, stomach pulled in tight, which is obviously the goal here. It's almost like you've got a bar coming across here in front of your abs, and you're going to be lifting up and over that bar instead of just sinking down into it. So we're going to lift up and over, and we're going to keep that tummy in nice and tight. So we're going to pull this band straight down to our hips, and then we're going to lift up and over as we roll down, one vertebra at a time. So the crown of our head drops, our spine drops, we're reaching down. Notice how the hips press back almost into a deadlift type position. We're pressing to the hips here, and then we're going to roll right back up. Now notice that the goal was not to get to my toes. I wasn't trying to reach all the way down. I was trying to reach a point of resistance. So we're pulling in, we're pressing down, we're lifting up and over that bar through the core. We reach down, the hips go back, so we get some pull in the hamstrings through the glutes. We roll it right back up and come back out. The goal to start with might be about 12 to 15 repetitions, and then you move on to the next exercise. So the next one we're going to go through is a decline chop which we're gonna do from the side here. Now, obviously, I don't have a lot of space that I can move over here without getting off camera, so I'm gonna adjust the length of my band here by doing this. So normally you would just grab inside the loop or the handle, put the hand closest to the anchor in, put the other hand on top, and then we would go in a motion down towards the hip and right back up. Now you can see that's not a lot of tension there for me because I'm too close to the door. So instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab it this way and just shorten my band. So we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna start it here and we're gonna press down to the hip, right back up. What we don't want is to turn the hips. So stomach's in tight, knees are soft, we press down, we come back up and we start to fire those obliques. Now the further over that we reach, the more you're gonna feel those obliques fighting to keep you from rotating. So it's anti-rotation right this second that we're working against. And whatever we do on one side, we obviously would want to come back, turn around and do on the other side. So we would take it then from this side and bring it down. So we want to make sure we get both sides even, that we're tightening the core and that the body stays still during that movement. All right, so after our decline chop, we're going to go into our seated bent knee roll down. We're going to do that by placing our feet right up next to the door, just pretty close. They may not touch, but they're right there next to it. We're going to reach up high on the band, not so high that we have to sit forward to reach up because again, we don't want to overstretch that band, but enough to where whenever our arms are up, we start to feel that band have some tension on it. So we're going to start up nice and tall. This is a good posture exercise here. Our feet are about hip width apart and make sure those knees are going straight up, that they're not falling out or falling in, so they're straight up over those ankles. We're going to roll down one vertebra at a time, so start with that tailbone, tuck it under, roll all the way back. If you notice there's too much stretch on the band, you can always let go of some of it. All the way down to the head, and we start with the head, roll it up one vertebra at a time, pull that belly button in and up. As you lift, allow that band to help remind you to come up tall. Now remember that this band is resisting you on the way down. That's called the negative work, and that's actually going to help to make you stronger on the way up. But this band is not meant to pull you up, so you do have to do most of the work. That tummy is helping you to get up. It's not just that band. So the last time, we take it down, we come back up, pull that stomach in, don't let it push out. All right, so from our seated roll down, we're going to take it into our kneeling twist, and for that one we're going to switch to our medium anchor here where we're anchored in at that middle hinge, and we're going to bring it up onto our knees. All right, so again, for the sake of space, I'm going to shorten my band here. Normally you just place your hands inside the band here, and we would make an arc. So what I mean by an arc is that your arms are kind of in a circle here, only they're lifted up at shoulder height. So we're not pushing all the way out, we're not pulling all the way in, we just want a nice round arc through the arms the whole time. All right, so I'm going to shorten this band. We're going to bring this arc in front of our sternum and our hands are going to stay together the whole time. So I'm not going to move without my sternum, okay? So we're going to take this right here, stomach in nice and tight, hips stay forward, and we're going to twist and bring it back. So this twist is not happening from my shoulders. This twist is happening from my back so that my sternum can go with it and right back. Now we engage that core really tighten, so have some intention in what you're doing rather than just going through the motion. So we always want to be intentional, especially with that core work, really focus on that squeeze. Now same thing, you would turn around, do the other side same way, you'd have it here, and we'd twist the other direction. Just always make sure the sternum and the hands stay together as you go through that movement, okay? All right, so our last one today is a side squat. And we're going to use that same medium anchor band, and we're going to take this time our arms are going to be straight. So again, handle or loop, straight out in front, we're going to clasp the hands, but if you've got too much and you need to shorten it up, feel free to shorten it there. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to clasp straight out in front of us. Now, optimally, we would be in line to where this band, as our arms are straight, was in a straight line with the anchor. I have to step forward a little bit for what we've got in here. But the goal is to keep, again, the hands right in front of the sternum, not let them twist, not let your body twist. We're going to step out to a squat, step up together, step back in that squat, step together. So back is not as hard, obviously, as going away. Step and together, and step and together. So we're working stabilizers through the shoulders, we're working through the chest, we're working through the abs, we're getting a lot of core work going on here together, and we want to make sure that that band stays straight in front of the body the whole time. Now again, as you're doing that, you're going to feel a lot of work going on in those abdominals, especially after these other exercises. So take it to your own pace. Remember that if you cannot complete 12 to 15 repetitions with excellent form, then bring those repetitions down. So the goal is always the excellent form, quality first. We don't ever care how many reps you get as long as you've got great quality, because you can't get the results that you want from higher numbers with bad quality. So build up that quality, build up those repetitions. Feel free to let me know how that goes for you, or give me some input on how you like that, or other exercises that you'd like to see us go over here. But I hope that gives you something interesting to try for today. Kind of add it into your workout and see how it goes. I hope to talk to you soon.